So just before we kick off, the term Web 3.0 was actually coined almost a decade ago. And over the last little while, Web 3 has really become a blanket reference that encompasses anything from crypto to metaverse to NFTs to emerging technologies like virtual reality and augmented reality. So before we kick off the discussion today, I'm going to turn it over to our panelists to not only introduce themselves, but also share with the audience what Web3 means to them and their organization. So why don't we start with Jeff?
Perfect. Thanks, Marina. Hi, everyone. My name is Jeff Lambert. I am the head of merchant loyalty in North America for Visa. In a past life, I worked with a number of retailers that are here this weekend. And after our company was acquired in 2015, shortly thereafter, I joined Visa. And so I've been in the loyalty space for 15 plus years. Today, I work with a lot of our top retailers to help them drive engagement and ultimately incremental revenue. Web3, what does it mean? What does it mean to me? What does it mean to Visa? For Visa, I think the easiest way to think about it is our core crypto strategy is to be the bridge between crypto and everything blockchain on one side and our 80 million merchants who are accepting Visa cards and our 15,000 or so financial institutions who are issuing cards. So if we can be the bridge between those two, and we can help enable new form factors of currency and commerce, specifically through NFTs, then that's our goal and that's our objective at Visa. For me personally, when I think about Web3 and the impact that it has on loyalty, it's really more about the conversion, at least in the eyes of the retailers, from customers as subscribers into members, right? And what that means as a member and what comes along with that. And Web3 can be the rails to enable that. And there's a lot of different form factors that you can see, specifically around NFTs, that can enable retailers to dip their toe in the water and not only to enable or enhance their existing loyalty program. A lot of times you don't even need NFTs or you don't need to mint an NFT to do that, but to collaborate with other brands, right? Like, what if one day Starbucks woke up and decided that they wanted their top loyalty users to be able to access the United lounge, right? And so just because you are a Starbucks member, you come every single day, we want to give you something new, some benefit. We want you to be able to go to the United Club Lounge. Okay, great. How do you enable that without Web3? Well, it's like really, really hard, right? It's custom integration. It's a custom contract. There's a lot that goes into it. But if you were able to leverage the open nature of the blockchain to be able to validate, who those customers are, who those members are for Starbucks, and then to be able to provide some sort of utility around that, in this case, the United Club Lounge, it becomes much easier, not only to do that with one brand, but to do that with many brands. So that's what I'm excited to see happen. And when I think about Web3, I think about all those potentially new use cases that will benefit us as consumers.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. So first, Marina, thank you so much for inviting us to join Visa today. My name is Scott Lawrence, and I'm Senior Vice President for Verizon Business Group, supporting our public sector and our global enterprise segment. And at Verizon, we're a major retailer across the US, but we also work with retailers globally, whether it's luxury retailers to big box, all the way to independent retailers. And when we look at Web 3.0, it's really a conglomeration of technologies that are coming together all at the same time. So we already mentioned the use of blockchain. You look at things like AI, machine learning. You hear ideas about the metaverse and what that potentially offers to unlock future value for corporations, NFTs, cryptocurrency. But for Verizon, it's the perfect intersection of leveraging our technology with Web3 to really unlock new use cases for our clients. And what we bring to the table is effectively the network, because you can't unlock any of the Web 3.0 capabilities without the network. And a key component of Web 3.0 is the ability to have distributed applications or distributed architecture. And that's where our 5G service and mobile edge compute really comes to play. So looking forward to an interactive discussion today. Again, great to be here with Jeff and Tyler and Marina. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Tyler Moebius, founder, CEO of SmartMedia Technologies. I started in the industry in 1997 with my co-founder, Reeve Collins, where we brought the ad-supported web to the world by building one of the first ad servers, which sold to Microsoft. And my co-founder, Reeve Collins, was the former founder and CEO of Tether, which is one of the largest stable coins. And we quickly learned as Americans, you don't want to be in the space of speculation. So over the last 5 years, we built an enterprise Web3 platform focused on the utility of Web3, specifically tokens, Web3 wallets, and spatial web experiences, focused particularly on the engagement and loyalty capabilities that Web3 brings to the table. And Web3 to us, or to me, is really about the democratization and of both data and ownership. So Web 1 was about read only. Web 2, we all started tweeting, putting our pictures on Facebook and user generated content on YouTube. However, none of us actually benefit directly from the monetization of that content or that data. So we see a real opportunity to be able to unlock that and give that ownership to the creator economy, not only artists and creators for content, but for end user data as well. So really being able to allow the end user through a Web3 wallet to be able to give consent to a brand, to be able to send them loyalty tokens or coins or digital offers, and then also using that same wallet to receive direct compensation, whether that being a digital coupon or crypto or fiat as part of that.
Great, thank you. So we all know that we're in a time of disruption, rising uncertainty, customer demands, customer expectations have changed with advances in AI, in algorithms, in personalization. Customers are now expecting personalized experiences. The one-size-fits-all model is no longer relevant. It's just not a viable strategy any longer. So I'd love to hear from our panelists. How have you seen customer engagement and loyalty evolve in the digital era? And looking back, what do you think were some of the undercurrents that were driving this change?
Yeah, I can start on that. So a lot of what we've seen change over the last decade or so, and specifically for me, sits around data and not necessarily the concept of data ownership. I think we can get to that in a minute, but more the way that brands are using data. And in the past, it was hyper-focused on new customers and customer acquisition, right? And at Visa, we would help our merchants do that all the time, right? Using Visa data to identify who is spending within a competitive set, but not spending with me, right? And kind of using that to target them with offers and drive them into the store, right? And you have LiveRamp who's doing that, and a lot of companies that are doing that on the advertising side to drive new customers in. But the shift the past few years has been using that data internally and targeting your loyalty members, right? So instead of trying to get them to make that big leap to use your brand, they've been using that data to isolate and identify their highest value customers. So I've seen brands kind of shift that, and what happens is in the center of their database, they have their own SKU level data. And when I say they, I mean the retailer. So you have your own database with all the SKU level data, and then the retailers are starting to pull in data from all these different disparate sources. And so using Visa as an example, you can start to pull in spend data, and you can start to understand which of your loyalty members are spending actively with your competitors when they may not be spending with you. And during the pandemic, that became very, very important, right? So you think about someone like United or Southwest who saw all of their sales just drop dramatically. Now you start to look at your loyalty members, and some of them are dormant and some of them start to trickle back. Well, how do you know that those dormant customers aren't now shifting their spend over to some of your competitors? Well, and so what they started to do is pull in these data from all these disparate sources and enrich their own data sets. So with that comes personalization, it comes understanding, and the drivers or the undercurrents that got us there are the loyalty programs. It's consent, right? And we've all seen the news. We know, how things have changed in the way that people were using our data as consumers. But by joining a loyalty program, providing that consent, you're actually kind of agreeing in this transactional nature to say, yes, give me rewards points, give me some currency, and I will give you my data. And I think we're right on the precipice of seeing a dramatic shift in that, which I think we can get to in a minute. But I'd love your thoughts as well.
Yeah, when I look at just the seismic shift that's happened around customer engagement, a lot of it is driven over what we've all experienced during COVID, and it's really changed consumers' expectations because there is such a high level of digital interaction now because we all had to buy goods and commerce digitally during the pandemic, and so their expectations of what it means to interact with a brand digitally is across all different segments, age groups is much higher than it was 3 or 4 years ago. And the other trend that we've seen is that, you know, the myth that the retail storefront is going away is dead. The retail stores are not going away. It's about how they can extend that digital experience into the stores so they can engage with their customers in a manner in which those customers want to engage with that brand. And that's been a big kind of pivotal change. And what we've seen is it's accelerated the digital transformation of our enterprise customers on a global basis. What they had plans that maybe, you know, part of their 5-year planning cycle are now being compressed into what can we do in the next 12 months to 18 months to upgrade our legacy store infrastructure and to present a digital experience back to our customers, because we know that's what they expect. So the use of technologies that we're providing, the use of partners like what we partner with Tyler and SmartMedia Technologies to unlock the benefits of Web3 are really, you know, finding new use cases, but through those use cases, you're driving customer engagement, brand loyalty, and ultimately customer loyalty.
So there's been a lot of discussion about Web3 for loyalty purposes. We've heard a lot about it in the media. I've heard a lot about it here over the last couple of days. Like when we think about traditional loyalty, it's actually quite simple. A customer shops, they earn, they're rewarded by the retailer. The more they shop at that retailer, the more that they earn, usually in the form of points, usually can be redeemed for a discount, sometimes for a product. But you're hearing more and more now about retailers leveraging Web3, not just to reward customers by having them earn points, but also for participation. And you know, there's a big quick service restaurant that announced a Web3 loyalty program over the last couple of weeks. You see a lot of luxury retailers who are dipping their toes in the water with Web3, not just to drive loyalty, but also for acquisition purposes to actually target an entirely new demographic that they haven't been targeting over the last couple of years. So I'd love to hear from the panel whether or not you guys actually think that Web3 technologies can be leveraged to target new demographics, a new type of customers. And if each of you can share with the audience maybe a favorite recent example of a Web3 technology where a retailer was leveraging that to drive customer engagement and loyalty.
Yeah, I'll jump in on that. Yeah, so the use of Web3 is really going to help brands and enterprise evolve their CRM. So the way that you're able to communicate. So not only is it we're going to move from a transaction-based loyalty program for earning, you'll start to move up the marketing funnel and start to be able to reward users for engagement with the brand and for spending time with the brand. So that's either liking you on Facebook, watching a YouTube video to learn more about your technical specs of your product, or actually visiting a retail store and picking up a NFT that's presented in augmented reality using your mobile phone in a Pokemon Go. So you have the aspect of moving from transaction to engagement, and we're also going to make loyalty just easier to burn or redeem, right? So, and with Web3, you have the opportunity to build interoperability between loyalty programs. So now I give consent and to a loyalty program, I'm able to actually see more value in that because of the interoperability of that loyalty. And ultimately, it becomes almost a new channel altogether for brands. So the last 2 decades, brands have spent their time getting the consent to be able to send emails to your inbox. Now they're going to spend the next 2 decades getting consent to send digital tokens to your Web3 wallet.
Yeah, and I think Jeff hit on it. It's about creating a personal relationship and that customer intimacy within customer loyalty programs, customer and driving customer engagement. And you asked for kind of an example of one of our favorites that we've done. And we did this in partnership with and it's about pulling in the right partners to really deliver and unlock the full value of Web 3.0. But at the end of last year, we did an innovation showcase with Burberry at their London headquarters. And we brought in a variety of different technologies, some that are ready today, some that are more futuristic so that they can unlock the art of the possible. One of which was, as a customer comes in to one of their flagship stores, they click on a QR code on a digital signage. It immediately drops down that digital wallet, a Burberry wallet, onto their phone. And then we drop NFT keys where they can go on a bit of a scavenger hunt in the store. And as they collect those keys, it unlocks exclusive content with Burberry, whether it's early access to a fashion show, whether it's additional discounts, although Burberry doesn't discount anything. It's a new way to interact and create gamification while consumers are in the store. And it's all about merging the physical and digital together. And that's just one example of where we've been able to demonstrate that in real time. So you mentioned a lot of the high-end luxury retailers. They're already doing this hyper experimentation with what Web3 can actually be. But it's also, how do you monetize it? How do you commercialize it? How do you scale it? And that comes back to having the right ecosystem of partners.
Yeah, and I think that one of my favorites right on that note is what Tiffany & Co. did with CryptoPunk, right? And so you have this CryptoPunk ecosystem, right? And it's a very affluent group of people. People are spending tens of thousands of dollars on these pixelated JPEGs, right? And it's this group of customers who is hyper passionate about their collection. You think about people that collect NFTs, it's a small sector, it's growing, but they collect a lot of NFTs, right? And so they're highly engaged with this. And Tiffany & Co. is able to recognize, hey, here's this affluent group of people, highly engaged with what they're doing. So how do we dip our toes in the water and be a part of this community and actually do it in an organic way, right? We're looking for people who have disposable income, check. We're looking for people who are passionate about something, it's their CryptoPunks, check. What if we were to create a pendant or a piece of jewelry that was unique to an NFT that was issued around the CryptoPunk? So not only can you have this digital asset, but because you have this digital asset and you purchase that, you can get something in the real world. And it's going to match that, and it's going to be unique. And it was a wild success, and it completely sold out, and it generated revenue. I mean, people were spending tens of thousands of dollars, not only on the NFTs, but on their product, right? And the reason they were able to do that is because they were participating in that digital community, and they're creating that buzz and that excitement. And at Visa, we saw that firsthand. I mean, a couple of years ago, we purchased a CryptoPunk NFT, and there was an outpouring of just engagement and support from this group of people, and ultimately excitement about our brand because we were participating in their world, right? And so if it's done organically, then I think that it can be really, really effective. It just has to be it has to be something meaningful and participating in the community.
Great. So Jeff and I partner very closely in bringing Visa's loyalty platforms and solutions to retail merchants to help them solve loyalty-related pain points, to help them deliver on their business objectives. And what we've been hearing from consumers, or what we've been hearing from merchants, is that their customers and what they value has changed. So their customers no longer want to be perceived as just a consumer. They want to be involved in co-creation. They want to be involved in storytelling, in the narrative, like they want to be more involved. So I'd love for Jeff to share with the audience whether or not you think that, or maybe actually you can share with the audience, like, what does a Web3 customer and like customer loyalty for Web3, what does it actually look like? And are they different? Like, are these customers actually different than just regular loyalty customers? And do retailers need to adapt or do anything different with this specific Web3 loyalty customer?
Yeah, I mean, they are different. And they're not just different because they're young. It's not like the Web3 customer like equals young person the way that like 15 years ago, millennial equaled ignorant young person, right? Like it's a group of people who were digitally first. But if you think about the pandemic and you think about like what that actually did and how that changed people, you went from digitally first to kind of digitally everything overnight, right? Like you were doing work, you're doing school, you're doing your shopping, you're doing everything digitally overnight. So that kind of expanded, and especially for the younger generation, that expands to how they communicate with their friends, and it's how they want to communicate with brands, right? So the old marketing adage of like meet the customers where they are, like that still applies. It's just how do you do that differently now? 10 years ago, everyone was like, oh, we need a mobile app. Any retailer, any restaurant, they're just like, oh, we need a mobile app and we need a mobile app. And the CMOs were like, yes, we need a mobile app because Starbucks has one, and that's what you would do. But now it's not that simple. It's not like, oh, we need to create an NFT and then the kids will come and spend money with us. It's about engaging in the community and engaging with these different groups of people. And if you think again back to the pandemic, what else shifted? Especially in the minds of young people, is what was going on in our country socially and all the changes that happened. We have a younger generation who really values equity. They really value community. They really value that interaction. And so if you're going to be a brand, how do you do that? Well, think about one, meeting them where they are. Roblox, for example, has 43 million users. 43 million users using Roblox. And 90% of them are under the age of 16. They're 16 or under. So like you let that kind of percolate for a minute and you have this massive group of young people all on this platform that probably none of us really understand. And how do you participate in that as a brand? And how do you involve yourself in it naturally? And I think like you can start to see some brands that are doing a pretty good job of that, and that are creating places for, and I'm going to use the word create twice in a sentence. I hate that, but they're giving a place for people to create, and that creation starts to build trust. And once you start to build that trust, then I think you have new ways to communicate with people differently than they may have done in the past. But I mean, I'd be interested to know if either of you feel differently.
Well, I think, like to your point, meeting them in Roblox or any gaming or gamification, we're seeing that happen right now with technologies like digital twin, for example. So you go in, and some of the high-end luxury providers are doing this today, where you go in, you buy, let's say, a trench coat. You can take a digital twin picture, and now that becomes a skin that you can bring into the game with you. And while it increases, customer engagement and brand loyalty, there's also a real benefit on the operations side for the retailer. So if you think of high-end luxury, you have a lot of breakage, right? You have a lot of counterfeiting and whatnot that happens. So now if you can digitally link the goods that you have using blockchain technology, create that digital twin, offer up something, a utility using NFT that you can bring with you into these places that you meet your friends. I mean, that is just explosive marketing across a platform that's 43 million deep.
Right.
Yeah, and the next generation is growing up in a gamified world, right? So the one of the original cryptocurrencies was Fortnite V-Bucks, right? And when you talk about digital twins and the fact that the younger generation would rather buy the digital version than the physical version because it's more sustainable and it's not going to end up in a landfill one day. And that's the mentality, because they're used to being able to actually purchase digital merchandise in game or in app. Any of us with kids just look at our credit card bill and we see all the in-app purchases that are taking place, right? So there's really this evolution to being able to connect with the Web3 customer of the future that's not just a crypto pro or a tech geek, but that's really looking to not be marketed to, but to be entertained by a brand, and to develop a long-term relationship with that brand because they actually see a true value exchange that's taking place. And I believe that with tokenomics and Web3, you now have a new asset of value, which is that can be actually exchanged between a brand and the end consumer. I mean, over $500 million is spent digitally in advertising spend that goes from a brand to the intermediaries to then targeting an end user, and the end user doesn't get to participate in any of that. And so now brands can actually start going direct to the end users and be able to connect with them in a new way with their Web3 wallets.
So Web3 is a great foundation for a multi-year build of immersive storytelling for consumers, which could bring a loyal and engaged customer. So Scott and Tyler, we'd love to hear from you on like which new technologies are a quick win for retailers versus what may require a longer term investment to be successful.
Yeah, when I look at some quick wins, we're doing it today with many retailers on a global basis. You look at some of what has traditionally been, some inhibitors to, quickly entering a market, bringing up a store location, waiting for network connectivity to bring that store up. Our ability to deliver 5G, fixed wireless access quickly, enables you to turn that store up. And then to unlock the benefits of Web3 and the distributed application architecture that you have, you need to leverage edge compute. You need to move that compute and storage closer to where that application is happening, because they're latency sensitive applications that deliver that immersive experience in the stores. So I mentioned earlier, the acceleration of digital transformation is taking place, and they're having to go in and upgrade technology that quite honestly hasn't been upgraded in store infrastructure in many, many years, right? And that's everything from the store rep on the floor and how they engage with customers when they walk in, to digital interaction. One of our partners, Cooler Screens, they have a freezer door that effectively delivers retail media content. So it'll show you, what's behind that freezer door, the nutritional benefits. It can push out, coupons and other things to it. So it's a true digital experience. And again, that concept of merging physical and digital together. So those quick wins are enable the network to support the applications of the future, look at how you can move compute closer, and then do it in a secure way. And that's the other element of that embedded network security is so critical, because at the end of the day, you're not securing data, you're securing your brand reputation in the marketplace.
Yeah, I would say the Web3 technologies that are most relevant today would be around the Web3 wallet, and it's truly positioning itself as the next killer app. In Web 1, we used our public address, known as an email, and a password to log in and authenticate ourselves as users across websites. In Web 2, we trusted Facebook with Facebook Connect, and Google and Apple to authenticate us as users. In Web 3, we will use our Web3 wallet to authenticate ourselves and to log into websites as part of that. So what needs to happen, and here's my shameless plug, is you need to make Web3 easy for enterprise and for users. That's where we provide a 2-tap custodial Web3 wallet. So anybody with a smartphone with 2 taps can own their first Burberry NFT by simply scanning a QR code, and they're immediately brought into the experience. People say, what should we be considering when doing Web3, or should we do Web3? I'm like, if you're asking that question, don't do Web3. You should be doing Web3 when you don't even know you're doing Web3, because it became so easy and it's now just integrated as part of the overall ecosystem. And it's now another channel that fits into your overall omni-channel approach.
So Scott, what do you think is the biggest challenge in getting to that next level of loyalty and engagement? And like, do you think of any like concrete implementation challenges that our retailers should be thinking about as they think about implementing this new wave of new technologies?
Yeah, look, I think there's always going to be challenges when you look at what you can do to accelerate, your digital transformation agenda. One that, Jeff, you hit on before, and Tyler as well, is around privacy, right? And around, there's a fine line between creating that customer intimacy and going too far, right? So that's one thing that you have to think about. The other thing that I've seen in working with many retailers is the way in which they approach technology really needs to change. No longer should you be looking at IT as a cost center that, you just have to put into your stores to run operations, but it can unlock that customer experience and drive engagement. In order to do that, though, you need to have all the right parties at the table together. So you need to have the business with you. The people running your retail operations has to be at the table with your IT organization. It has to match your marketing strategy, because a lot of what we've talked about are marketing tactics, but it has to marry back into your marketing strategy and ultimately your brand strategy. So For me, it's less of a technology fix, because we have the technology today to unlock this with private 5G, with edge compute, with digital wallets, as Tyler said. It's really about ensuring that you have the right strategy that's aligned to execute, and that you have the right ecosystem of partners to get it done, because that's really what, that magic layer is. You have to think about who your partners are that you're going to bring to the table, and truly bring them in as partners to unlock that next wave of innovation.
So I have one final question, and then we'd love to open it up to the audience for any questions. So I am hearing from my marketing clients that they're very intrigued in what's happening with Web3. It's no longer about marketing strategy or digital strategy. It's really just about customer strategy, and that's really what they're focused on today. And Web3 is a really great way for some of our retailers to dip their toe in the water in a new way. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Maybe we can start with Tyler, and if anybody else has anything to add, like, what advice do you have for retailers who are looking to pilot a Web3 initiative or really dip their toe in the water with Web3 as a way to drive customer engagement and loyalty?
Yeah, I think, Scott has the sage advice of make sure, one, that you have the right partners who have the experience. NFT 1.0 was focused on speculation. You being a brand or a retailer, taking content and then wanting to then tokenize that for the sake of generating incremental revenue, which is definitely a tactic and has been proven to work. But NFT 2.0 and moving into the broader Web3 is really understanding how to be authentic in Web3, and understanding how to be able to use those technologies and thinking about an always-on strategy. So when we're consulting and working directly with brands that are looking at launching a loyalty program using Web3, we really need to stand back and say, what is the broader strategy of the brand? What are you looking to achieve over the long term? And getting it all the way down to a tactical execution of your Web3 strategy should almost mirror your CRM strategy. So whatever automated workflows you have for sending emails and your promotional calendar, that should be aligned with your token strategy and with your wallet strategy. So brands are then able to run a Web2 CRM email campaign alongside their Web3 CRM strategy, where they're sending tokens to those wallets. And then that starts to dovetail into a longer term loyalty program in terms of really starting to think about loyalty and how do you create the interoperability between my traditional database point centric system, and then starting to unlock that potential and start so that you can start to use coins and tokens to start to reward for engagement, not just on transactions.
Great. Great.
There we go. Okay. All right. I would say that, and I already talked about the concept of the easy way to participate in Web3 is to find a community that resonates with your audience, right? And the Tiffany example that I gave earlier is a great one, right? If you're looking for an affluent population, do the research and start to understand like where they are interacting, where they live, what their interests are, and then how can you fit in and participate and add something to it, right? Like when you say community digitally, it's the same thing as a community that we live in. Like, what are you adding to that group? Like, that's one thing. On the other end of the spectrum, I want to see retailers start to really lean into everything that Web3 and specifically NFTs can enable for users from brand to brand, right? And Tyler talked about the concept of a wallet, right? You have your wallet. Inside of that wallet is going to be, in the future, all of your identification, all of your payments, all of your NFTs, all of your spend history, SKU history, down to the color of the items that you bought. And you control that as the consumer. And then as a consumer, you take that different wallet with you and you're willing to give that to a brand simply because the expectation is, what is the brand going to give me? Is it a unique experience based on the things that I've done? Is it a benefit that I get because of all of these things that I have? And so being ready for that and being ready to have, you know, unique benefits, unique experiences for customers, and how that plays into loyalty and loyalty tier is key. And in order to get there, brands really have to part with the concept of owning the loyalty tier, right? Like I bust my ass to get 1K at United, and then they can take that away in a year, right? Like that's just gone. Like conceptually, that doesn't make sense in 2023, right? Like that is going to shift, and that status is going to be something that I own, and it's going to be transferable. And if Tyler wants to buy that from me, he can buy that from me, and the smart contract is going to govern everything that goes along with it. And the cool part about it is United is going to benefit from it at the end, right? So like there's a lot of cool stuff that I am like really excited about seeing from a loyalty perspective. And just working at Visa, the fun part is that we get to be working with a lot of those brands and pushing them to do that. So whether it's United or Southwest or Marriott or whoever, you know, these big traditional leaders in loyalty, like I'm excited to see who's going to be the first one to actually do it.